friends Mike here from Much More Media. He has a great media company that he has built for himself. He also has a great podcast called Actor CEO, and we're going to get more into that in this interview. And we're just going to talk about a couple of different things media related, and we're going to really get into some cool topics. So guys, really buckle in, get your drinks, get your popcorn, set up your camera, watch what's going on, because you're going to definitely want to sit in this one. Mike, tell us about yourself, man.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much, Antoine, for this opportunity. And thank you so much for creating something like this Mad Talk, this like mad moment in time that we
Yes.
live in, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you're actually coming out and talking to creatives and entrepreneurs. And I just think that that's phenomenal, because right now there's a moment in time where creatives and entrepreneurs can really skyrocket what they're doing, and the world needs our help, honestly.
They do.
And I'm in sort of both of those worlds, which is amazing. Like, long story short, I grew up in Los Angeles, born and raised. My dad was part of the film entertainment industry. I grew up in that industry, started doing stand-up when I was 14 years old, went on to get training in it, BFA, MFA, in that entertainment industry, came out to New York City, and then started certainly working out here as a creative, but then took what I was doing with the creatives that I went to school with and was working with, filmmakers, actors, writers, and then brought what they were doing to businesses, right? And started helping businesses at first create like Facebook ads and things like that. And then we just stepped it up in terms of content and the way that you can repurpose content now, the way that you can really tell your story as a business, and put it out there. So what I do now, between the Actor CEO podcast, which is a huge platform at this point, reaching almost 10,000 fans across the globe, big shouts out to them.
Clever for that, man.
Years now, connecting industry experts to them. I'm helping them treat their career like a business. And then I'm with business owners, helping them tell their stories, right? So I'm helping storytellers become better businesses, and businesses become better storytellers. And the wonderful thing is that we can even do that now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get to pull all these things I love. Like, I love producing, I love creating stuff, and I love like running a business and being creative about how that happens, and helping people out, employing people, helping people get their ideas out there, and build better opportunities for themselves and their families and my family, right? But I get to merge both these things, and that exists now because these two things are so powerful right now. The entrepreneurial world, the business owners, how they can reach their audience and how they can reach their customers, and storytellers. They've become one of the most valuable things in our society at this point.
Of course. Do you think, saying that brings us into a really cool topic, and I've done this in a lot of these interviews, and the audience knows this from watching a lot of them, is that we talk about the clear relationship that's between entrepreneurs and creatives, the business side and just the creative side. And something that you said is a point that I've never seen anyone in these interviews actually say, is that instead of saying creatives, you call them storytellers, because essentially that's what a creative is in the first place. So what do you feel like is that link? Like, where does that connection start and where did that connection ends? Because you see, it's like having two brains, when you're the creative side, but then you're also the entrepreneurial side. Like, where does that connection start? And then, like, where does it, like, okay, yeah, at this point in time, you got to be more analytical, or at this point in time, you got to go really more into yourself on the storytelling practices.
So I think, the entrepreneurial brain is oftentimes more geared. Well, I think it's a creative brain in and of itself, right? To be an entrepreneur, more than likely, you're going to step into a space where you think that you can improve what is going on. That takes creative thinking. Creatives obviously are very aligned with that as well. So, and they're both natural problem solvers. Creatives and entrepreneurs, or anybody starting a business, is going to be naturally inclined to be a problem solver. But I think there's a balance between practicality and dealing with reality and dealing with timelines, which the entrepreneur side must be very focused on, right? You have to have a business plan. You have to try something and then try it for a period of time to really get some test and data out of it to then make better decisions moving forward. Whereas creatives can be a little bit more loose with how they deal with time and whether or not they're trying something that works or just trying it to to expand creative aspects, things like that. Both of those are very good, but this is why I help storytellers become better businesses, because storytellers, creatives, oftentimes, whether you're an illustrator or doing graphic design or making video games or making music, or my sister's a musician making films or whatever it might be, that's a passion. That's something that just comes from you, and you get hit by inspiration. You got to go into it and do it. But oftentimes it becomes difficult to build a business out of that, because in a business world, there's repetitive nature, there's growth, right? There's one foot in front of the other. There's a plan that you need to lay out.
Numbers, everything like that.
You got to stick to it. You got to know what your expenses are, know what your income is, know what that budget is, how you're going to manage everything over a period of time. If something happens like this, which becomes a shift, if something is disruptive, how do you manage that?
Of course.
Storytellers, creatives can often not have that plan in place. And I totally get it. BFA, MFA, I come from a school and training of being trained to be a creative, but was not given the business skills. It just isn't what those institutions are built for. Totally cool. So I think that there's a balance between the practicality, the reality side of an entrepreneur, of understanding I'm in this now for the long game. This is a marathon, not a race, or sorry, not a sprint. I got to make sure that I got a plan in place. I got to make sure that I got plan A, B, C, and D in case, right? I got to make sure that I can adjust. I got to make sure I'm listening to the industry that I'm in, or listening to the world and the audience that I'm working with, so I can maybe see what's coming next, see what's coming around the corner, maybe make some adjustments, but also then give yourself some time, even whether it's in your daily schedule, weekly schedule, monthly schedule, however it works for you, to be that full creative side, because the beautiful thing about being a creative is that when you're given the time and space, the word no doesn't exist. There are no limits. So to merge them both, that's where you become a rocket ship. When you can live in that space of, what if there were no limits? How would that look? And you spread all that out and you make this big mess of an idea. And then your entrepreneurial side comes back and goes, man, that would be amazing.
Yes.
How can I take that and do everything I can to work that into the world in which there are some limitations, or there are some perceived limitations, or there are some challenges or some friction to getting to where we want to go with this big messy idea. The balance is going back and forth between all of that, but that's how you put one foot in front of the other and make both worlds work.
I can tell because you always seem like you're having fun with everything that you're doing. It doesn't it doesn't seem like you because there's some people that do things and you see it on social media all the time. It seems like it's forced, or it seems like they're trying to emulate someone else or something like that.
Right. Doing what they think they should be doing
instead of what they should be doing, and listening to themselves is really what you should be doing on like, what do you want to do? After you listen to yourself and to what you want to do, then you find out if that's valuable to other people, to an audience and things like that, because you don't know who your audience is going to be. I like when people try to say that you don't know. No one knows. You don't know until you start doing something, until you start trying, until you start putting that work in and seeing who responds to what. And you could put your chips in all these different places, but at the same time, you don't want to like spread your net too wide, because when you do that, you fall into pitfalls and you'll fall into like different things. But if you want to try multiple things, you can. That being said, do you feel that there's an era of being too clean cut with your brand, like trying to hyper produce everything that you do? Like I feel like with his deck, because I've been going through his deck over the last couple of days, and a lot of stuff in there is like simple stuff that I didn't really think about, like writing stuff in notes and screenshotting it and putting it in there. It's not something that a graphic designer had to put together for you to display your message, but it still can display your message and still can have meaning to other people. Now, do you ever like advise any clients or people that you work with that, hey, don't be clean cut, be yourself. Like if you only have these type of means, use that, but just get your message out there and just convey it to others.
1,000,000%. Yes, is the
Mhm.
short answer to that. Like I don't know if we talked about this in the beginning, but the way my company started was really producing Facebook commercials, and
Yeah.
so I'm taking all the video crew that I know and the writers and the filmmakers and stuff like that, and putting it together and producing high quality Facebook commercials for these brands and businesses. But
Mhm.
very quickly, I realized like you don't need to throw all your eggs in one basket. Having a high quality product, whatever that is, be it a high quality podcast, be it a high quality video, be it high quality images or brand photo shoot or something, that's great. But it doesn't all have to be that. And sometimes what's very useful is having that when it's useful and necessary. Like if you're going to be put on the cover of a magazine or something or featured
Mhm.
in an article there, having some high quality brand photos might be very useful for you. But then as people learn about you in that magazine and then come to follow you to see you on the daily, to stay top of mind, you can make it much more casual. And you can have things like, I even do this sometimes. I have this great little calendar from Jen Sincero, who writes all the You Are a Badass books. And so
Mhm.
there's this like daily calendar of like little motivational things and stuff. And over on my podcast page, what I do for my fans and followers there is sometimes I'll just take a picture of that daily thing. Why? Because it aligns with the message that I'm already putting out there, right? But it's literally
Mhm.
just a picture of this calendar statement, totally low production, right?
Yeah.
But it goes out there and they like it and they'll respond to it if they respond to that message or whatever. It's just a useful thing that's like, hey, I liked this. I was motivated by this. It totally aligns with what we're always talking and harping about.
Mhm.
Here's another little piece for you. And so that's just one small example, but it could go across the board, right? And right now, I think it's very important to realize that what has become clear in this very specific moment in our lives when we're dealing with quarantine and coronavirus and all this stuff, and this total upending of our normal operating procedures, is that quality of content matters more than quality of production. John Krasinski is out there right now with something called
Mhm.
Some Good News, which he started in this space with zero production lighting, like not very good lighting,
Mhm.
working on a webcam, recording stuff probably in Zoom. He's got a sign behind him that was colored by his kids. He's wearing no makeup. He hasn't, cut his hair in weeks.
Mhm.
So, like, nobody cares, though. Nobody cares. No one's like,
Because
I'm not
they're
watching
looking to
that
be
because it looks like
entertained.
garbage. Nobody cares that it looks like garbage. They care about the content. What is the message that he's putting out? That's why
Mhm.
they're watching it. So now I highly encourage people, if you haven't started, start now, because the bar for what people expect like content to look like, or the production quality of whatever it might be, to whatever their standard was, is gone now. What matters is the content, the quality of the content. What is the message that you're putting out?
So my question is, what advice would you give like a filmmaker, a graphic designer, someone who's in that type of realm of being that type of creative? What type of advice would you give them to how to break away from that type of mindset of everything has to be perfect?
That is a great question and a really good focus point. So the way that I break it down, whenever I talk to anybody about creating content, because really what we're talking about, right, is like if they're going to put something out there in any form of content,
Yes.
um, whether it's a full film or an illustration that they got paid for, a higher job, or just their social media and a way to stay top of mind, they want to try to maintain this level of production quality. And I get that. So the way that I break it down is when we talk about content are the 3 Ps, right? Product,
Mhm.
process, and personality. And product could be your product or service, right? If you were a painter, then you have a service, right? You don't necessarily provide a product. But if you are an illustrator or whatever, that is like a product, right? You're a filmmaker, your product is you make an end product, right? A film, or you're a music producer, you make a track at some point. There's an end product. And I get that can be your high quality thing. So you can always showcase what the shiniest, best version of what it is that you do, and make sure that's on your website, right? Make sure it's like top of your Facebook profile or top of your Instagram profile or your LinkedIn or whatever. Make sure it's at the top. People know that this is the pinnacle of the pyramid. This is what I can do. When you pay me $10,000, you're going to get this. When you pay me, and hire me for a real job, you are going to get top quality, guaranteed. Okay, that's understood. But then you can't constantly be producing that and putting it out on your social and stay top of mind. If you were constantly producing that, you wouldn't be going to these social channels because you would be so busy constantly producing that. But in order to stay top of mind, to convince people that you can do this thing, you got to first attract their attention and bring their attention to the pinnacle of the pyramid. Well, the pyramid has all these other layers. That's where you can go into the process and personality. Personality can be like what you're doing right now. You're showcasing your personality. You're putting your personality out there. It's like, hey, I'm someone that is fun to talk to, an easygoing person, someone that's creative and relatable and energized. Great. It could be personality of other people that you work with, right? People that are on your team, people that you've had on your crew in the past, people who like your stuff, right? Testimonials, reviews. Hey, this person's really fantastic. I love being here. It could just be your personality of like stuff you like to do outside of your job, right? Outside of like illustration or whatever. I also love horses, and I love, going to kids' birthday parties or whatever, I don't know. Like that's part of your personality, and that's okay. And of course, social media loves that. And then there's the process, right? Which is like, people love seeing the behind the scenes. Yeah, I know your film or your music project or your illustration is super shiny and legit when it's, all said and done. But what does it look like to do the behind the scenes that? How do you make that? How do you go about drawing something? How do you come up with the idea? Where's the inspiration come from? If people didn't like that stuff, we would never have, 3 or 4 DVDs that come with like a Marvel movie, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if people weren't watching it, they obviously would not be paying a camera crew to follow everybody around and shoot it. But
now you see it on YouTube everywhere.
You can, because they create it, because they know people are seeing it, right? Because that then goes, because now, I mean, just think about it. Like, when you look at a sculpture, Michelangelo or something like that, or an amazing painting from years ago, you look at it and go, wow, this is like a master work. But the fact when somebody might tell you, they're like, it took them 3 years to make this. How could it take them 3 years to make this? What is the process there? Well, if you want it to look like this is what this artist had to go through in order to make that happen. Layers of paint and blah, 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 and research and drawing, And so now we have the capability of showcasing that. Well, there might be a significant number of people who are really interested in that. And now you've opened their world. You've got them into your world now, where they go, oh, now they've seen the behind the scenes. What does the final product look like when it goes from this little seed, right, to this amazing tree that is bearing this beautiful fruit? Wow, that whole process led to this.
Of course.
I think that's a great way, that's a great way to break it down, right? So definitely have your product, whatever the cool thing is that, like, when someone's ready to pay you, 10, 20, 50 grand to do, that's what they get for sure, guaranteed. But this is how you do that. This is who you do it with. This is the person that you bring to the game when you do that, right? Your personality. And this is also the full person behind it.
So it's showing all aspects of the beginning, the middle, the end. That's basic storytelling in itself.
There you go.
The beginning, the middle, the end. And the end result is the actual product that you're putting out. And people think that that's the beginning. No, that's technically the end. And then it's even the start of another story that is going to be coming up into the next thing. What would you say is a tip that you would give anybody who wants to learn how to become an actor, wants to develop their craft, and really wants to, develop themselves in that realm?
Great question. So you, again, like I said, we have access to experts, right? So, and you can do this now. And we have this conversation over at Actor CEO, which you can find across all social channels at Actor CEO. We have the conversation all the time, which is you can do this now from wherever you are. So first, if you want to do this as a career, well, find an expert that you have access to who is teaching it, right? Now, more than ever, right now, these classes are online. So you can have
probably
access,
at a discounted rate too.
oh my, yes. And
At a
so you could
discounted
learn,
rate.
you could be, and test it out first, like, work with a
Mhm.
few different people and see like who works best for you. Cause you are no longer landlocked to who is just around your area. You are now have access to exceptional teachers across the planet.
Mhm.
So I would use that time now to be like, okay, let me take a class with you. Let me see what this is about. Maybe commercial acting, something I'm interested in. Maybe it's more, theatrical, or maybe Shakespeare, something I'm interested in. Maybe I want to learn the method, or maybe I want to like do it. I don't know. It doesn't matter to you. Figure it out and see what vibes best with you. And then be like, okay, great. Now I'm going to take the next step to get more of this expert information. Because first there's two sides, right? First, you need to develop the creative side, which is have
Mhm.
those creative skills, have that skill set where you're like, man, this is the type of work that I do really well. This is the type of acting and storytelling that fires me up. It could be
Mhm.
comedy, could be drama, could be musicals. Again, could be Shakespeare or classical work. Great. Find it, whatever really vibes with you, because that's what's going to carry you through. Develop that skill set where you can do it really well. And then there's the other side of that coin, which is the business side, which is what we've been talking about, right?
Yes, sir.
Which is as soon as you're like, great, I got a skill set that is strong, that I know my work well, and that I can market and go out there and get work. Okay, great. Well, now you've become a business.
Mhm. Now you
Now,
become a
just like this
business.
pitch session we're about to do, now you got to go out and pitch yourself.
Yes.
You are responsible for your marketing. You are responsible
Mhm.
for hiring people like an agent and a talent manager to represent you as a business to help you find work. Customer acquisition, follow up with the customers who are the casting directors, producers, filmmakers, writers out there that you develop these professional relationships with, networking, all this type of stuff. That is a business.
Yes, it
So
is.
you got to know both things, but that business, what are you really selling? That product that you're selling is like your skill set as an actor in this moment in time.
Definitely check out all his links. Check out all his social media stuff. Check out our Actor CEO podcast. Where can they find that podcast?
You can go to actorceo.com. You can find it anywhere. You can find it
Mhm.
anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Okay.
Yeah. And of course,
Anchor
across
too?
social media at Actor CEO.
Okay. Anchor too?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So Anchor as well. And that's a great resource. If you ever want to start your own podcast, definitely use Anchor. It's basically just like having a phone call. And then you
Mm-hmm.
can just edit it straight into the app and you can send it out to all these different places straight through that app too. So definitely check that out and it's free. All right. So that being said, it was great talking to everyone here. I know Mike had a great time. Mike, just your energy alone, it
Oh,
gets
bro.
me hyped. It gets me
Thank you.
hyped and it got me energetic now. So I want to tell you guys, thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next episode and always be great and always be creative. Have a great day.